Hey kids, I want to show you a little bit of strategy on how to do your very best work for David Ashe's book. I want to do an example of how to interpret his instructions. Now, you might have gotten one of these worksheets that has his instructions on it. The instructions are also listed on the video on sketchbookhomework.com. But if I just take this worksheet, I'm just gonna look at the illustrations needed right here. He needs a picture for his guitar book. He needs a picture of a curious child enjoys seeing guitars around the house. Now, if you're like most kids, you'll probably draw that curious child who enjoys seeing guitars around the house small and in the middle of the book of the page. So let me show you a couple strategies on how to make it look like a real illustration, nice and big on the page with lots of great details. Okay, so let's put the camera on here. All right, I'm gonna make 4 thumbnail sketches, and I was gonna use a pencil, but I figured a pencil might be hard to see, so get rid of that pencil, and I'll use a marker. Normally I'd use a pencil. You should probably use a pencil, but so here we go. I'm gonna make thumbnail sketches. So you just draw a little rectangle right there, and then you make your sketch. Now, what was it that David Ashe wanted? He said, okay, so he needed a curious child enjoys seeing guitars around the house. There are so many ways to draw that. All right, my first idea is I'm gonna draw the curious child kind of like kneeling on the floor, right? With like a whoa look on his face. That's his mouth. And then, and it might help to put the camera up a little higher. Perfect. All right, there's the kid. And there's his ears. He's got big wide eyes, right? And we'll put some hair on him. Now this is just a sketch, so on my real drawing I'd spend more time trying to get the hair to look just right. But on my sketch, it doesn't matter that much. All right, and then he's on his hands and knees, and there's the palm of his hand. There's his fingers. Right? And so, I mean, I'm not doing the best drawing I've ever done in my life. It's kind of a quick sketch. And here's his legs. And then behind him, I want to show that he is in the piano room, in the music room. Because in the book, he's in a music room. So I'm just going to draw, some piano keys. And if you don't know how to draw something, you probably can find a computer to help you look up how to draw, for example, piano keys. So there's a stool, piano. All right, so this is how you make a sketch, boys and girls. You make a sketch by just, drawing out the details. Now, this was supposed to be a picture from inside the guitar. That was my idea, and I play guitar, so I know they have 6 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I know the strings have like little diagonal metal marks on there. So that's a way that you can help plan for your artwork, okay? Now, normally, kids don't draw a sketch before they do it, and they end up with a finished picture small and in the middle of the page. But this is sort of an interesting picture. It's just a sketch, it's an idea for a curious child enjoys seeing guitars around the house. Now, there's so many different ways you could draw this. I want to prove to you that you can draw different things for the same picture, okay? So I'm just gonna, there's another way. Maybe I could interpret this in another way, right? Maybe there's just a curious kid, right? And then he's got kind of like this happy, curious look on his face. And maybe he's, let's see, maybe one arm is on his hip, and the other hand is kind of like under his chin, right? And he's like, right? Now, if I spent more time on it, I could do a better drawing. But this is just a little quick sketch. And then maybe there's just guitars just behind him. If you don't know how to draw a guitar, what can you do? You can look it up. Maybe there's just guitars kind of floating in the background. Now, in real life, there might not be guitars floating in a background. But this just maybe shows what he's thinking of. Okay? I like it when things go off the edge of the page. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make some things overlapping. Right? And I'm not worried about it being perfect right now. All right, so there's some guitar pictures, and again, you can use the internet if you need to. So there's just guitars floating in the background. That's my another sketch. Now, two very different drawings, but it's for the same idea. Okay, David Ashe asked me for a curious child enjoys seeing guitars around the house, and I have two different ideas for the same thing. Maybe music notes floating around. Very different drawings, but the same idea. Okay, I want to prove to you that there are many ways to put your own spin on this, to interpret this. So I'm going to take the same idea and I'm going to make a third thumbnail sketch. I'm just going to draw, here's another, my last idea is I'm going to just draw the side view. This is called a profile of the boy in the story, right? And maybe he's kind of looking with wonder at some guitars. So, you know, obviously if I'm doing a real finished picture, I'll, you know, of course, draw the details better. I'll draw better looking hair and I'll make it look better. But right now, it's just a sketch. He looks kind of scared in the sketch. Yeah. So I'm just drawing a guitar off the edge of the page. This is a very simple picture, right? But it's a nice drawing, okay? Maybe there will be a background in it. I probably will, you know, if I'm doing a finished illustration, I want to do something really cool with the coloring on this, watercolor or maybe some kind of cool pattern in there. But there you have it. 3 different illustrations for the same idea, okay? What we don't want to have, and I'm going to put a big frowny face above this drawing, what we don't want to have is we don't want to have a drawing like this sketch, okay? A lot of kids will turn in something like this. They'll draw a little tiny little thing in the middle of the page, right? With the little tiny details. This drawing is, listen, we're not mad at you for drawing this drawing, but does this fill up the whole space? No. Does it lead your eye around the page? Not really. So if you want to find really good illustrations and find things that you can love and learn from and steal from and borrow from, there's this website called, I think it's called childrensillustrators.com. I'll put a link to it on my website, sketchbookhomework.com. childrensillustrators.com is something that's so fun to explore. See some of the best artists in the world right there, and you can see some of their techniques. You might see a cool pattern that they use and say, hey, I'm going to borrow that pattern for my illustration. All right,